My name is Jad Mouawad. I work at Mouawad Consulting, which is a consultancy company doing engineering and consultancy on ballast water management for ship owners and manufacturers. I've been working with ballast water management for the past 8 years. Started at DNVGL, and I'm last 3 years as a consultant at the consultancy company. In general, it has been always my position that ship owners should, as much as possible, prepare themselves for the entry into force of the convention. What we have seen for the last year or two is an increase in ship owners doing the engineering and the feasibility to choose which systems they want, they think they like, whether they fit on board their ships or not, and then they're stopping there. Doing, for example, the engineering and the drawings for class and getting the approval ready. And by that, when the convention enters into force, whether it's this year or next year or the year after, basically they're done. They just have to purchase the equipment and do the retrofit and then commission it. My advice is for ship owners to do that. Have the good time to choose a good system, do the engineering, and when the time comes, then you won't have to queue with everyone else. And this is, as well, it's not an expensive exercise, so it can be done without a lot of hassle. My company is involved mainly in early in the design and the feasibility work, as well as the retrofit itself on board ships. It's not easy for a turnkey retrofit company to build up a huge staff waiting for something to happen, and then if it takes longer time, then you have to lay off people. What we have done is that we are ready in terms of workflow with the projects we have so far. We're doing more than 30 of those projects right away, and when the demand increases, then we will increase our capacity alongside with that. Not anything else is not possible. Is there a golden solution? No, there is not. There's always a difference between ship types, where the ships are trading, the sizes of the ships, and how flexible or not the trade of the ship is. What we see very often is that ships are more flexible than their owners think they are. They are able to adapt more to what the constraints the ballast water management systems will put on the ships, because it will. The ballast water management system will have some constraints on the operation of the ship. And if the ship owner has ships that are very tight on schedules and so on, and they cannot delay that, then they have to consider this. There are a lot of challenges when it comes to approvals. There's a lot of challenges when it comes to installation, but the main challenges that we experience is that there's very little knowledge among installation companies and engineering companies on how ballast systems, onboard ships, and ballast water management systems fit together and work together. This will be the main challenge: how to operate the system, how to install it, and how to make this work flawlessly. The main problem would be on taking the decision. I think what will happen is that taking a decision early on before the dry dock of the ship, which system and how to engineer it inside. This will be in my opinion, where everything will be delayed. Usually what we have seen is that ship owners usually would come a couple of months before the dry dock with a system, and they want to install it, and then everyone is rushing to put the system on board. That will create a problem. And when you have hundreds, even thousands of this at the same time, this will be a problem. Another serious issue that we are seeing is that class societies are not even close to be ready to get the approvals done. This will be a bottleneck that probably we will talk later about, but that will be also a major issue for the ship owners. Enforcement, I'm not sure about. The only enforcement that can be done at this stage is to do paperwork and check that the system is running as it is. I do not advise and I do not recommend and I do not agree that sampling of ballast water on board an operating ship is a solution. The reason is that there are kilometers of pipes and they will be contaminated. All ships will have some sort of a non-compliance sample on board, but that does not mean that the ship has a risk of invasive species on board. What we see is the industry ready otherwise? Yes, we have the technologies, there are approvals on their way. US Coast Guard type approvals will come within this year and next year. Engineering-wise, shipyards, everyone is ready to install the equipment. Whether the industry is ready to operate the equipment, we will never know that before the equipment is actually on board and getting operated. Then we will start seeing, okay, this is easy to work with, this is not easy to work with. But sitting here and trying to guess whether a system is easy to operate or not without actually having the experience of operation, that could be an issue. But all other things you mentioned in the question, approval, technology, installation, shipyard capacity, there's always shipyard capacity. When we first started hearing about the EPA, that was in 2008. I was working with the environmental issues at DNV, and it was the first time we've heard about the vessel general permit. At that time, the VGP and the EPA compliance was an issue. We just didn't know how to do that. 8 years later, this is not an issue anymore. The shipping industry knows very well what they have to deal with when they call American ports. They know exactly that the EPA is an authority they have to deal with. They know exactly that the Coast Guard is an authority that is always doing their own things. They've been doing it for decades now. It's not a surprise anymore. It shouldn't be a surprise, at least anymore, to anyone who's been at least working in this industry for the past 10 or 20 years, that the US is the way it is. And I really don't believe it's a problem. It's for the actual people that are doing the work, I don't see this as an issue anymore. It was 10 years ago or 8 years ago. It's not now anymore. Now we're used to it. Now we know what to do.